Well, there's a question. Did you do any trial on using Telon or Fumigant versus non-Fumigant control? Well, yes, we did. Actually, when my student, master student, he did a trial in the last 2 years, comparing different Fumigant and including Telon. And also in the first crop, and then using non-fumigant nematicide in the second crop. We also had another trial on tomato comparing Telon with Nimitz. In terms of the efficacy of Telon versus non-fumigant nematicide, the new non-fumigant nematicide, Nimitz and Velon Prime, are doing a great job. However, you need to exactly know the nematode pressure in your field, in terms of, and also the crop growth, how long it take the plant to grow. So for sure, the efficacy of non-fumigant nematicide is different whether you want to use it on cucurbit crops versus the fruiting crops like tomato or eggplant or some other fruiting crops. Usually, these new non-fumigant nematicide may not last long, so that's why application of Telon on the first crop. If you're growing multiple crops, let's say 2 crops, for sure the first crop need to be fumigated, and the second crop can be used. You can use the non-fumigant nematicide. Although there were significant difference among nematicide applied to watermelon with Nimitz versus and whited for gall index, the yield with the Nimitz was lowest. Would you still recommend applying the nematicide even if no improvement in yield are observed? Well, we are seeing actually different result with the application of Nimitz on watermelon. Well, sometimes the yield are normal. Sometimes we have low yield, especially when you compare it to White and Velon Prime. I still recommend using Nimitz. Again, Nimitz is a very good nematicide. It's a true nematicide. But in some of the crops, we can see a little bit phytotoxicity or bad effect on the growth. If you applied at least 1 week, make sure you applied 1 week before planting to prevent any phytotoxicity or bad effect on the growth. You can even play with the rates. So again, if you, depending on the pressure of the nematode in your field, you need to play with the rates. A rate between 3.5 to 5 gallon is an economic rate. You can even use it by the 7 pints per acre, but for sure you might get more phytotoxicity. Do you think splitting Velon Prime on watermelon is beneficial? No, I wouldn't recommend that. We actually tried that. We did test that, and really there was no difference. I would recommend, maybe if you're on watermelon, if you have a high pressure, I may recommend to apply Velon at plant and then come back with the Whited 3 or 4 weeks after. Okay. As we are moving into a season of more regulation with new administration, do you feel like we can be successful if we are forced to move away from fumigant? I hope that might be a case, but you never know, that might happen. But that's a good question, but it's not. Well, the fumigation use is not just for nematode, as you all know. There are other soil-borne pathogens in the soil, fungal disease and also weed, that the fumigation actually should need to be applied to actually control those other soil-borne pathogens rather than the nematode. The other thing is that when you're actually growing 2 or 3, sometimes here in Georgia we grow 4 crops on the same plastic mulch, we have to fumigate the first crop to make sure we won't get much damage or high damage in the second crop. It would be too hard to think that the fumigation will be gone, but again, the new non-fumigant nematicides that are doing good, but again, if you are dealing with other soil-borne pathogen, those non-fumigant nematicides might not work. Were there any trial with biological nematicide, like for example magestine? Well, yes, we did test magestine many times on different crops, on tomato, on squash. To be honest, that we saw again differences in terms of the nematode control. Magestine, it's not a really good nematicide. It's not a chemical. You should not expect to see the same result compared to the chemical nematicide. We did not really see good result with magestine, but again, based on the rate that we have used, which is recommended for magestine on vegetable, which is 2 gallons per acre at the plant, and 1 gallon plus 1 gallon per acre 3 to 4 weeks after planting. You never know, maybe if you increase the number of the application, let's say at planting 3 weeks after, 6 weeks after, you might have better nematode control. But as far as our result data, we really didn't see a promising result. I like to mention that we are also working as a part of a USDA grant. We are working on different other bionematicide. We are right now screening at least 10 products that are recommended for organic production of vegetable. The screening will be in the greenhouse, and then we will choose 2 or 3 most effective nematicide, and then we will take those. We will test those products in the field condition. Hopefully, in the next year or the following years, we will provide you some more data about the bionematicide, or biological nematicide. I hope I could answer your question. I'd like to give you an announcement. I'm sure you saw my last slide. There should be another virtual meeting or workshop on January 25th. In that online webinar, we will actually cover different vegetable crops. We will talk about different management techniques. There should be 6 speakers from 6 states. You will hear different production system and different management techniques. Please make sure, if you would like to learn more about the nematode and their management, please make sure to register. You can easily contact me, or you can check out my Twitter. There should be a link, or just contact me, shoot me an email. I can provide you the link for registration. there's no other question. Is there any other question? Please feel free to ask. Something else, maybe I think I mentioned in the talk, something else that you might need to consider when apply non-fumigant nematicide is that sometimes, again, based on the nematode pressure, sometimes you need to play with application, especially in the summer time where the nematode is so active. You need to be careful about how to apply non-fumigant nematicide. Again, most of the non-fumigant nematicides are recommended to be applied at planting or maybe at the mid-season, but you can really adjust the application timing with the nematode life cycle. In the spring or maybe in the summer, specifically in the summer, the root knot nematode, which is the most important nematode you guys are dealing with, can really complete the generation life cycle within 3 weeks. If you can adjust the application with the timing of the termination of a generation, nematode generation, you might even do better result in terms of the nematode control, especially for those growers that grow multiple crop on the same plastic mulch. Our data really show that even though you fumigate the first crop, but by the end of the first crop, the nematode number will increase, and that would be a treat to the second crop. Although you will treat the second crop at planting, but if the population is high, even the non-fumigant nematicide might not have a good efficacy on the nematode. Or if it has, if you saw a high number at the end of the first crop, you might apply 2 applications of nematicide or 3 applications of nematicide. I know the application of nematicide, it depends on the economic aspect. You need to think of economic of the application of any pesticide. But in terms of the plastic culture use, even the application of multiple treatment can be economically justified. I don't see any other question. I also have a comment here. Please sign out if you're applying for CEUS. Thank you. All right, so it seems there is no other question. I really appreciate your attendance for this talk. Um, mm, you can go to the next event, which will be started maybe soon. Thank you and have a great day.